Today, we'll tell you about the IS-3 in the second line of Soviet heavy tanks. We'll describe the strengths and weaknesses of the vehicle, various tactical options, and compare the IS-3 with other Tier 8 heavy tanks. When the IS-3 was fielded, it was arguably the most impressive vehicle in service after the war. You can see that its bow plates are positioned at a specific angle, forming the so-called pike nose. Due to this shape of its glacis plates, the vehicle was known as the Shuka, which is the Russian for pike. The IS-3 had very significant armor protection, and because of the angle of its armor plates, a ricochet was a reliable expectation. The launch of this tank saw a completely new era of heavy tank construction in the Soviet Union. Now it's time to get a closer look at the IS-3. Let's begin with its advantages that distinguish this vehicle from its predecessor. First of all, the vehicle is given a traditional shape and low silhouette. Secondly, the tank's turret is completely curved and almost impossible to penetrate from the front. Thirdly, the hull side skirts were introduced. If the tank is positioned diagonally, these can significantly decrease the penetration potential of enemy shells. As we've mentioned before, the vehicle's bow is pointed, and this fact can naturally lead to ricochets or non-penetrating hits. The frontal armor plates of the IS-3 can reliably prevent penetration by HE shells and shots from enemy SPGs, but nevertheless, don't waste your hit points by exposing your vehicle to artillery fire. Amongst the other tanks of this class, the main gun of this vehicle has a high average damage value, 390 HP, and its penetration potential is 225 mm. Please consider the fact that the high damage value of our main gun is balanced by a poor rate of fire. This means you should know the reloading time of your potential enemies. With this in mind, you'll be able to plan your attacks effectively. But there are disadvantages too. This tank's durability is inferior to many Tier 8 heavy tanks, excluding the AMX 5000. Furthermore, the IS-3's hull sides are very weak, so tanks with ordinary main guns are able to penetrate this tank if aiming below the hull side skirts. When fighting tall tanks at close quarters, for example with the KV-5, the enemy can penetrate our tank at its weak armor plate above the mantle. The maximum visibility range and main gun accuracy of the IS-3 are lower than that of other tanks of this tier, so you'd be better served engaging at close or medium ranges. Due to its low maneuverability, the vehicle can't perform quick turns, but due to its high speed value, its mobility isn't much decreased. Let's now discuss modules for the vehicle. The main tactics for the IS-3 are appearing from behind the shelter, aiming and inflicting damage in a short time. This means that the most essential module for it is the gun rammer. If you can't afford all three modules immediately, you should begin with this one. You can continue with the vertical stabilizer and enhanced gun laying drive. If you prefer rapid track repair to high aiming speed, the enhanced gun laying drive can be replaced with the toolbox. Don't mount coated optics or ventilation, as you will hardly notice the effect while playing this tank. The sequence for improving the skills of your crew is typical for heavy tanks. Sixth Sense, Repair and Jack-of-all-trades for the commander, Repair, Snapshot and Armorer perks for the gunner, Repair, Clutch braking and off-road driving for the tank driver, and finally, Repair, Safe stowage and Adrenaline rush for the loader. Please take note that the most important skill is Repair, which allows the repairing of damaged modules quickly. Without this module, it'll take quite a while to repair your tracks, and by that time your armor will probably be well perforated and your tank will be destroyed. The suggested consumables are first aid kit, repair kit, manual fire extinguishers, gasoline. Now that we've considered the strengths and weaknesses of the IS-3, mounted all essential modules, and improved the skills and perks of the crew members, it's time to move on to battle tactics. First and foremost, we should mention that this tank is easy enough to master, so many players will like it. Its combat power provides a firm footing while fighting enemies of the same tier and of higher tiers, and this means you won't have to act passively, lie in wait, or stay at the base if you choose this tank. This vehicle is completely attack-oriented, so you'd better hurry to the fore and take key positions. Don't go there alone though, be sure to enlist your ally support, as an unsupported IS-3 would be easy meat for the enemy tanks. Try to cooperate and act as a unit. It will be easy for you to force through the enemy's defense or to control the enemy at the flanks. Try to hold enemy middle tanks off and pay enough attention to your minimap. City locations are where the IS-3 performs at its best. Well, if you're playing in a Tiger, due to its high rate of fire and accuracy, you can stay in open terrain, plinking shots at the enemy from afar, one by one. Remember that the IS-3, however, is much more effective at close or mid-range, and besides, you'd want to shelter while reloading. Finally, we're going to talk about fighting tanks of the same tier with the IS-3. Let's do this by the example of the KV-4. Tiger II, and T-34. Let's begin with the KV-4. When facing this enemy, try to stay close to it. In this situation, you will have the opportunity to aim at the weak points of your enemy effectively. Try to penetrate its noseplate, the auxiliary turret, and at the sides of the turret. When fighting a Tiger II, trying to get close to the enemy will also be useful. Staying at long distance will play into the hands of your enemy and let it win 8 out of 10 battles. Any ricochet or non-penetrating shot may be a critical one for both tanks in this battle. Our average damage per shot is higher, so the more often you penetrate the enemy, the more likely you are to win. King Tiger should be attacked at its noseplate and hull sides. When at point-blank range, you can also shoot at its glacis plate and at the commander's turret. If facing an American T-34, your goal is to inflict damage systematically. The tanks have the same HP. The damage value per shot is higher in the T-34, but the IS-3 has a higher rate of fire. The T-34 can be easily penetrated while aiming at its frontal hull and hull sides. Don't aim at its turret, which can only be penetrated at its sides. Let's sum up everything. The IS-3 can be called the perfect vehicle for fast battles. It can fulfill its missions effectively, being either on top or at the bottom of the list. And if you treat it wisely, it can be a real thunderbolt for random battles. This is all for now. We hope that the data provided helps you to make an informed choice, and we are waiting for your comments on the forum. See you soon!